Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and thank you so much for joining. And this was just a glitch a while ago. This is Thursday, the 3rd of the 2nd, 2022. Thanks for those. Hi from Canada. I hope Mr. Have you found your Prime Minister Trudeau yet? I hope you can find Prime Minister Trudeau um, over there on Instagram. I hope he's is he still hiding or what? Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome and thank you so much for joining me tonight on In Review. It's been a very packed week. Politics is a moving parts, but it's not just politics, but so many things which are happening. And but tonight we want to, while we talk about latest breaking news which is happening, we want to sort of look into leadership at the same time with the president of the UK, and as to how we see the UK progressing. Is there a new need for a new leader, or we keep the same leader? When it comes on to lying in Parliament, is it lying or is it not lying, or is it lying, or why they don't call it lie, if anything? So we're going to look at some of these things, and of course I've got various guests as well who tend to come on and share their views. And first and foremost, I'm going to bring in Sir David Adiole. How are you, sir? Good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Fantastic. And thank you so much for joining. And
Wow.
I'll just bring in Reverend Gary Graham. How are you, sir, Gary Graham?
I'm doing well. I'm doing great to be back on the Great Silver and City.
what listen. We have to. I always say that we've got to think big. You know what I'm saying? You know, everything started from an embryonic stage, isn't it, Pastor David?
Yes, it does.
You know, and but anyway, how's the week so far? The sun is coming out and the morning is getting a bit brighter.
I think it's getting actually warm. It was warm today, not too bad. I
Mm,
think a couple of days ago we were, but it got up to about 11 or 12, which is fine.
yeah.
So I'm not complaining.
Yes, yes. Sir Gary Graham, how are you down that side there?
Yeah, in Leeds, to tell you the truth, it's been quite mild. It's been around hovering around 11 degrees centigrade for the north. So obviously it's quite warm up here. Now they're expecting a cold snap over the weekend going into the beginning of next week. I'm from Birmingham to some extent. I'm not really used to the coldness of Leeds, so it's it's country up here as far as I'm concerned.
Well, let me bring in. I'm bringing Adam. How are you, Adam? Oh, you drinking some tea there? How are you, Sir Mohammed? Oh, you're on mute. You're on mute. You're muted. You're muted. Adam, you're muted. You're muted. We can't hear you.
He doesn't
Hold
want
on.
to speak to you today.
No, evening,
Oh,
Silborn. I was just saying that I reside just outside of Birmingham, Reverend, and it's certainly cold enough for me.
Okay.
I could do with a lot warmer weather.
Well, I can agree with you on that. Far warmer, but as it is right now, I think for February, I think it's quite nice. It's quite mild.
why do they call it a cold snap? Why do they call it snap? Anyone know why? You said snap. A
Well,
cold snap. What is that?
I'm just trying to sound like I'm a weatherman. That's what the weatherman will say. I'm not a weatherman, but if you use the lingo of the professionals that you're trying to imitate, then you sound as if you are knowledgeable, isn't it? So I'm just trying to be sound knowledgeable. That's all.
Okay, well, that's all right. Well, welcome to Michelle Clark. Peace and love to you. And Reverend Gary, your greatest fan, is online.
Oh, is it? Oh, it's great to have Michelle. Thank you
Yeah.
very much, Michelle.
And Jacqueline over there in the States, and Tina Greco in Canada. She said he's hiding, shaking in his boots. That is Prime Minister Trudeau is in his boots. Jacqueline, is Trump still running over there, or is it Biden? That is in the States. Don't know what's happening around the world. Things are moving so fast. But listen, we're in the UK now, guys. I don't know. Let's go first. Pastor David, what's going on with the UK? Where do you see the UK unfolding now? I mean, four of Boris Johnson aides just resigned, key persons resign, and I don't know, the Northern Ireland person has resigned. Is that saying a statement as well, or is that just
Yes, I think the first minister resigned, I think today
yes?
also, and that was due to the protocol thing, and I believe that needs to be sorted out as quickly as possible.
Mm,
It might be at least a plus point for Boris if he can resolve that Northern Ireland protocol. But I think things have been chaotic in the last couple of weeks. There's been a lot of drama, a lot of things going on, and yeah, we on one end we're praying. On the other end, we believe there's some uh, definitely error of judgment on the part of the prime minister about what is going on in his household, which happens to be his office also. So there's always that technicality of your house and your office, which invariably is the same building. One of the things I believe is at this time, I don't think it's the time for us to start talking about change in any way. My sense is after this pandemic, this last 2 years, we need some stability. We need a little bit of caution in how we go about starting an election now, just when the country is trying to stabilize and the economy is, I mean, for all over the world, it's not just the UK, but the UK seems to be doing slightly better than most nations at the moment. So I'm hoping that we can move on from here. He has apologized, not once, not twice. He's a bad boy, as always. So I wouldn't exactly say he's the best of him, but I think it's human also, and it's only those that have been caught. I think all of them have their skeletons.
Adam, what's your take, Adam? Initially, what's going on?
What's going on, Silborn, is this is orchestrated. So there is a key group of MPs within the Conservative parliamentary group who have never liked Boris Johnson. They some of them only tolerated him because he promised that he would deliver Brexit, and they knew his fallibilities. They knew his disorganisation. They knew his lack of attention to detail, and that these things would certainly arise fairly rapidly when he became prime minister. And they have it on a number of occasions. These things have arisen. Owen Paterson, not so long ago, that was a very poor judgment from the prime minister, not reading really into why Owen Paterson had been disciplined, why he was in trouble, and then defending him, which looked awful for public viewing. So this is not really. I agree to some extent what David is saying, that if you look at the timing for the country, it would seem reckless to have a change of prime minister. However, this is not about the country at the moment. This is about the Conservative Party, and the Conservative Party know that there's a general election next year. They want a new leader for that general election. They know that new leader will need about 6-9 months to bed in, and therefore the best time to replace Boris is either in the next few months before the May elections, or just after, on the premise that he does poorly in those elections, as one would expect with the polls at this moment in time. I'm a big Labour fan, so for me, what's happening with the Tory party is all
good news.
Great. I mean, because Keir Starmer is, he can only improve. The Labour Party can only improve its position generally with what is happening to the Conservative Party, because they look like they're at war with each other. It looks worse now than it was when you had the whole the EU, the Brexit debate, and it seemed like the Tories were. Am I still on the link? Can you see me?
No. Yeah. Keep talking. Yeah. So I'm working some magic on you.
They're tearing themselves apart again. So yes, it's orchestrated and it's planned. But I think the
Mm.
resignations today, Silborn, I think they had more to do with the fact that those members of staff in number 10 were probably going to get the boot anyway.
Right.
You only have to acknowledge that Boris Johnson had said that he was going to have a clear out at number 10. He was going to change the staff because of the Sue Gray report, and it was really a matter of time for the chief of staff, the permanent secretary, for them to go anywhere that they were going. So their resignations are they may be timed as part of some orchestrated approach to remove Boris, but
Yes.
they weren't going to be there much longer anyway. I would have thought.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So you set the stage. Gary, we have been talking about this for a while, and you see still unfolding, and it's unfolding. Is it time for there to clean shop and start afresh,
Yeah, I
sooner
mean,
than later?
I agree with David and Adam, and I agree with Adam more in that I do believe that things have been orchestrated. To us on the outside, it looks as if there's mayhem happening, and yes, there is, but it's planned mayhem. It's chaos planned, and Boris does need to go. I'm not sure. I'm not too sure. I agree with Adam in the sense that it can only help the Labour Party. But as we have been saying over the many weeks, Silborn,
Mhm.
that the leadership that we are expecting to have or we want to see, can Labour really provide that? Is Keir Starmer? I'm not saying he's a bad man or
Mm.
he's not a leader. I would never say that.
Yeah.
He's probably a stabilizing force. Probably he's a stabilizing force at this moment. Because you certainly couldn't have the one before here and right now. That's for certain.
Yes.
You
Mhm.
know, where he went wrong, I think, and if you hear me out, I think where he went wrong is that while he was there, he didn't bring younger people under him, so
Yeah.
that when he goes, what Tony Blair had, if he had that there, then he would have been seen as a great mentor. He would have been seen as a great Labour leader to usher in my estimation, the younger blood. But he never did that.
Yeah.
He just had the 1930s there, and that couldn't work now. Can Keir Starmer capitalize on this right now and really come forth as a leader, as we are hoping and the country is hoping for the Labour Party to do? I'm not too sure.
Mm.
I'm not.
Let me bring David into this, because for the past 3 weeks, and Adam, you can come on to this as well. I've been watching Question Time while I'm working at home, virtual. If my people are watching me, how do you watch that? Well, on the sideline there, and it's like a deja vu each week until this week that Keir Starmer keep asking the same questions, and it's like you're missing out on the fact that there's more to Partygate and Categate. There's more to there's more to London, to the UK with Russia and all those things. This week, I believe he started to talk about cost of living and Ukraine and all those sort of things. David, do you think he's missing out? I mean, it is for the Labour Party to lose a next election.
Yeah, I believe he missed out a lot. I think it got to a point where it was almost personal between the two of them. And yes, it was the opposition, and he was doing what he was meant to do. But I felt there were other things happening in the country other than Partygate, and the focus was so much on that at some point I wondered. I said, "Wait a minute, what does Labour think about what is going on in Russia? What do
Mm.
they think about the price of energy or price of fuel that we're going to be having in the next couple of months? What does he think about that?" There's some other poignant questions. He could even ask about Brexit, for instance, which could have actually given him immigration and the rest of it. There were quite a lot of things that could have given him some, edge over
Mm.
it. I think at some point a lot of people got tired of the Partygate thing. I mean, personally, I just kept on switching off when the news is on. And the moment they mention anything about Partygate, you a liar, you did this, I just switch off. I switch off. And I said, if this guy could challenge him on certain policies, certain things that they were meant to have done, and they haven't actually gotten grasp of it, I think to a large extent, he would have actually elevated or raised his profile slightly more. But I mean, he was just, aligning with the wrong person, Ian Blackford. I mean, Ian Blackford was, I think he was marched out of the House of Commons twice in the last couple of weeks. And even that one, I never heard him talking about the problems in his constituency or what they need in Scotland. He never asked that question. He's always just on the attack, which to me is irrelevant. So, and I wonder why he keeps on being voted in. He never talks about what he needs and what he thinks the House of Commons or the Parliament should be doing for Scotland.
Yes.
It's almost always very personal. I mean, he was asked to leave the chambers, I think twice now in the last 2 weeks.
And that is something we're going to come on to shortly about lies and leaving the chambers. And so, Adam, I brought up that question to David. What's your take on that? Is Keir Starmer, is he missing out on an opportunity, setting himself as the next leader? Or the next prime minister, rather, because he's a leader, of course.
Keir Starmer is very much like Boris Johnson in the sense of they're both pragmatists. Keir Starmer is not an ideological leader. And it was quite clear to anybody with a great deal of insight in politics that Partygate was not going to go away because there were too many interested parties that wanted to keep fueling it. And being the pragmatist he is, Keir Starmer latched onto that. And that's possibly why you saw more coverage, more of Keir Starmer talking about that issue than possibly one would have liked him to do. But he did move on this week, as you know, Silver, on to other issues. But we're talking about an issue which is going to potentially remove the Prime Minister of the UK.
Yes.
And so, it's happening. It's happening right in front of us. And so the leader of the opposition, rightly or wrongly, is going to capitalise on that as much as possible. And I would say he has done. He's capitalised as much as possible, scrutinised the issue in some considerable depth. And, it's a matter of time now before Boris goes. So he's done his job in that sense.
So are we saying, Gary, Boris is a dead man walking in the figurative sense?
Boris is a dead man walking. It's very difficult for him to recover from this. There have been commentators who have said, well, if anybody can do it, Boris can do it. All he needs is a couple of good by-election results, or maybe the May elections go in his favour, and with his bluster and the way he comes across, things will come back for him and the Tory party. But I really don't think so. I think the agenda, the number of MPs in the Conservative Party who simply want him out, is so significant that there's going to be a no confidence vote. There's going to be possibly in short or before or after. There's going to be some contest within the Conservative parliamentary group for a new leader. Whether Boris takes part in that, I suspect he will do. I don't think he'd win it though. I don't think he'll win it. The issue is who replaces Boris. And I think that is where the difficulty lies.
Well, also replace Boris, chances are they could have had a party as well.
Well, that's a very good point, because I'm sure Rishi was there. The four who resigned today, they were definitely there. I'm sure that there's going to be somebody we probably don't know who comes to the fore during the leadership election, and they will probably win it. I don't think the favourite Liz Truss or Rishi will win that leadership election. It'll be somebody completely new, like David Cameron when he came in I think 2006 was it? I might be wrong on that. It's not for Labour's. It's not the next election. It's not for Labour to lose.
So what you're saying, there's going to be a star guy that comes up and make a speech without any script, and woo the Conservatives like myself to vote. Like I was wooed by David Cameron. I was there at that time in Westminster Hall when he made that speech.
Yes, because I mean, David Cameron, I can see why people were wooed by him, although I think he was probably the worst toff prime minister we've ever had on reflection. Silverborn, I have to say. Um, there's going to be somebody who has that magic touch with people in the north, because Boris does have that. He has that ability to communicate with people around the country. I don't think Cameron ever had that in the same way as Boris did. I'm not sure Rishi Sunak, Liz Truss. But my bet would be on somebody like Dominic Raab. I mean, if he
What was
ran and he
what
got
was
enough,
what was
Dominic
Sajid?
Raab.
What was Sajid? The Home Secretary.
I don't think he'll get the support he needs, Silborn. I mean, I think he would do a decent job, but I mean, I think Dominic Raab, if he can get enough support, I know what happened in Afghanistan has affected his reputation, because he was seen as kind of not at the desk when he needed to be. But he is somebody that, if Boris got a bit more time in his position, let's say until after the May elections, it may be enough time for to Raab to recover and take on the leadership. And I think he'd probably be the unifier from the Conservative Party approach.
Right.
But I think for the Labour Party, Labour Party can't win the next election. It can't form the next government. I think it'd be very difficult for it to do so. I'd like it to happen, but I think realistically, it's going to look at gaining about 30 or 40 seats, because it's at a very low ebb at the moment. It's 198 seats, I believe, in Parliament.
Okay.
Around that figure.
Yeah. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for joining. Those on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube as well. Please share the video. What we're talking about is the state of the UK now politically, and the Prime Minister Boris Johnson, is he figuratively a dead man walking? And who do you want to be the new leader? Gary, one of the things about leadership in the UK is that is now nothing to do with the public. This is just going to be with Conservative Party people now. Because
Well,
nobody has any say now in whosoever when Boris goes, unless it's general election. What do you think? Have you got your mind on someone, Gary?
well, two things here.
Mm,
I would support what Adam has said 100%, that Boris is dead man walking. What he was placed to do, he's done it. I think
yeah.
that he was the man that was placed there to do the Brexit, and that's done. Whether he did it properly, well, we can see it's falling apart now, but he did it, and that was it. He needs to go, and I think, like for other prime ministers, whether Labour or Conservative, in the past, they've had the strength to step down as soon as anything happened. They had the strength, and it takes a strong leader to do that. Now, Boris, he's fighting to stay where he's at. He's fighting. He wants to remain as prime minister. That won't happen, and that's going to be his legacy anyway. The man who tried to stay there, just as much as Maggie Thatcher wanted to stay where she was, but she stepped down. She had the strength to step down, as much as it pained her. I do agree with Adam again on that score, that I think Dominic Raab is the man. Now, if you notice, during that Afghanistan fiasco, he tried during that time. He tried very much to keep quiet. You wouldn't hear him say anything.
Mm,
People who have the ambition to step when things get messy, they try to stay out of the melee. That's the same thing like what Sunak has been
Yeah.
trying to do, but
yes.
he was pulled in. Same thing with Dominic. It's sad the way how he handled that. Fine, he was away on holiday and such, but he didn't handle it right. So that kind
Yes.
of put a stain on him. But I do agree that I don't really see anybody in the party right now as it was, let's say, 30, 40 years ago. You had strong men. We
Yes.
had Michael Heseltine there, the prime minister, the man who never was king, or the king who never was crowned, or whatever
Yes.
you want to say. You got strong men out throughout all the years of the Labour Party, as well as the Conservative Party.
Yes.
Now it's far and few between. You don't see the strength of character of men anymore. But Dominic, I would put my bet that when he puts his hat into the ring, others may put their hat in, but I think he has a strong, um, he'll be strong enough, I think, to pull it off.
Yeah.
He may lose a couple seats, but I think that, again, as Adam says, he'll be the unifying
Force.
force
Yes.
to bring the party together and to show some kind of leadership that the country needs at this time.
David, your thoughts on this with Dominic Raab? Or
Yeah. I actually like Dominic Raab. When he was not only foreign minister, when he was also the Brexit minister, I think it was one of those guys that was quite,
oh,
showed some character and some leadership, even when the negotiation was going on. Well, he was removed then, but I felt he would have probably done a better job with Brexit than what we're having now. And I believe, yeah, he's a leader in waiting. He's a leader in waiting. I right now really whoever comes in as prime minister from the Conservative Party, they're going to lose a lot of MPs. And I'm sorry even for the new MPs that just came in. I think a lot of them are in because of Boris. A lot of those northern uh, uh, thing that he got, it was because of him. So a lot of them would actually, they'll probably, I mean, the ones that are actually jumping up and saying Boris should go, I think a lot of them will lose their seats, and they're going to be one of the shortest parliamentarian
yes.
in the sense. But I mean, for me, I think it's a personal opinion. I think they should just let him finish his term, his first term. Let him finish it, and thereafter they would have prepared very well for a new prime minister. But
Yeah.
because the war is within, and I dare say part of the problem of Boris is also who carry his household. So all this net zero this, net zero that, it's not coming from Boris. We all know that. And so there are a lot of things that he needs to sort out personally. But I would have to agree with the two of them is still dead man walking, even with the two resignations, who probably could have been sacked anyway today. They left today. Uh,
Yes. So,
Monira Manza and Jack Dora.
so it seemed to be a general consensus that Boris is just holding on to a thin string at this moment, like dead man walking, as Adam said. Um, at this time now, there's something I just want, and I was still talking about this because it's going to come back to us. But Ian Blackburn, the MP there, was ejected from the House when he called the Prime Minister misleading and liar. Don Butler, some point ago, was ejected from the House when she called Boris a liar. Now, you cannot call anybody a liar, even if there's a liar. These are rules which are set in the House. What's your take on these rules? I'm just throwing this out now because I think people are actually questioning these rules now, where you cannot, the MP cannot speak for his constituents and say, listen, we need to hold that leader accountable and say it as it is. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out. We want to
I
take
think,
we want to take debate.
I mean, yes, I really believe that some of these rules, these, the formalities of how we address all of that should. There's some things that should be kept. Some decorum. Yes, I agree with that. Um, Respect should be there for all across the aisle. Whatever your political persuasion may be, you should show some respect. Political, religious, whatever. That's fine. But I think that when somebody's not telling the truth, you should be able to say something about that.
Mm,
Now, the reason why Boris cannot be held to account is because no one can stand in front of him and say to him, "You've lied." Because look at what has happened since now. Any leader that's been in the prime minister, whatever party, they've I mean, shady business have happened. So it's not only Boris, but look what's happened since Boris has been at 10 Downing Street. Look what's happened. Look what's taken place in his own life. He's brought even the very office of prime minister into disrepute. Never mind what the party has been doing.
What was that dispute bit? Just for clarification.
Just look at it, man.
Oh, his wife. I'm looking.
you see, listen. It's difficult enough to separate things. You look at the prime minister. He's representing the country, but he's also representing his family, his wife, his children. I mean, it's like a minister of religion. When you have a minister, let's say like myself, that stands before a set of people, I'm saying I'm a man of God. I'm saying I'm one of the cloth, as others would say. Yes. Now they're not. If I do something wrong within my marriage or within my family, people are not differentiating between church and family. They're looking at me to be an example, both religiously as well as within the family setting. It's the same thing with a prime minister. A prime minister is one that people look to as a mentor, as a guide, as one that must be exemplary.
Yes.
Not only within the political realm, but also within the family. Now, he has. How can you live in a house? For example, how can you live in a house and not know that there's a party going on, that there aren't drinks going on, that there isn't cake being issued? How can certain things be taking place and you just don't know that it's happened? Now, I can't understand these things, Silbon. And if Adam and if David can help me with this, then I'm open to suggestions, and I'm even open to say if I've said anything to mislead anything or to then I will apologize.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is that if you are where you are,
Yeah.
men in business, in commerce, in industry, they've done less and they've had to step down. They've had to step down. Why is it that we have a prime minister who, well, you answer that for myself.
Okay. Adam, what's your take on this? Because Adam, you stood for you are a parliamentary candidate in the UK and when you go for office and you're going to stand for office, it's a bit different from a footballer who excel because he's a footballer and he's great and people put him on a pedestal. But for a politician now, they are putting themselves like through the 7 Nolan principles. What do you take about this lie in Parliament? Do you think the rules need to change, or so where you can actually call someone that you lie?
Well, my take on it is, Silborn, we're quite used to politicians not giving us straight answers. It's part of the job, really. And Silborn, as you being a lawyer, you're probably quite good at also being fairly economical with the truth when you need to be in court. Being a bit evasive. That's quite common. I think we used to see that. I think the terminology you use in Parliament, what we don't want is people just using the word liar, banning it about as if it then becomes almost common to everyday parliamentary, parliamentary discourse, because it degrades what the House of Commons is, and we want to maintain standards. But of course, it can't be right where you're able to evidence somebody is lying, that
Yeah.
you should be able to express that in a way, whether it's use of word misleading or something which is incorrect with a previous assertion. You need to be able to make a direct comment to a prime minister or to any other minister or shadow minister that's standing up at the dispatch box. You shouldn't be refraining from doing so because of traditions. We're a robust democratic system which is accountable, and therefore we should allow for that direct accountability and not let traditions get in the way. But we don't want it to become we don't want to kind of degrade Parliament by using simplistic terms and it becoming almost common parlance in Parliament.
Well, one of the things, David, before I bring in David, one of the things they said is that um, what are the consequences of misleading of Parliament? The misleading of Parliament is a known representation of false information to Parliament, a serious charge in Westminster system parliamentary assemblies. And the key word is misleading Parliament. And this is what everybody's talking about, misleading. Ian Blackford he didn't say lie in a sense. I think he said lie a couple of times, but he said misleading. So therefore, I believe the Prime Minister has accepted already, and everybody been asked questions by different reporters. If the Prime Minister mislead Parliament, should he go? And they always say, well, that's what the rules say. The Prime Minister also, well, that's the rules say. And Ian Blackford actually was using the rules, and he did not use the rules, which is saying you don't call a person a liar. So I think there's a lot of conflicting information right there when it comes on to misleading. And that's why I believe eventually when the police thing comes out, maybe that's going to be the death knell for the Prime Minister, because that's going to be very clear and obvious, because Sue Gray report, as some are saying, wasn't fit for purpose, because the police said out of the 14 or 16 parties or so, she must not talk about 12. Is that correct?
Well, I don't think anyone has any counts of how many parties went on, to be honest. And at the end of the day, I mean, with what Adam said was that there's a way you put something across. There's a way you actually challenge an individual. Even our children, you don't point to your child and just say you're a liar. You probably just say, hey, what happened here? I heard you did this, you said this. Then you allow that person to actually give his side of the story. And I believe we're not going to get that police report even during the time of this commissioner. I don't think it's going to be something that's going to come in the next couple of weeks. I mean, if we think that is going to happen, forget it. I doubt that police report will come in the next 6 months, 1 year. So, which would probably give Boris a bit of a breather in a way. And if everybody's waiting for that, because so far, only 11 of them have actually written letters to the 9222 committee.
Okay.
Only 11.
Have they been given a running commentary on that, David?
Yeah, I mean, the 11 is too low. So everybody keeps on saying, and all the speculation is not if, but when. It's not if, but when. Believe me, if they wanted Boris out, they should have close to 42 or 54 or 100 even now. But it's not happening. It's not happening. I just read The Spectator this evening. It's just 11.
Right.
It's just 11. That is so low for a party that wants the Prime Minister out.
Well, not a party that wants the Prime Minister. What they imply that the party wants him out. Is that?
I think there's a group in the party that want him out.
Yes.
And they're not helping him in any way. Even you will see Rishi Sunak, withdrawing himself when he was asked a difficult question about Boris accusing Keir Starmer of being the prosecutor during this Savile thing, and which is the excuse which I found very ridiculous. That's the excuse that Mazda gave for a resignation. It was not a tenable excuse as far as I'm concerned. They do this to themselves in the House of Parliament, but for Blackford, I think it would do well for him to actually, spend more time actually asking questions about his constituency, asking questions about Scotland, and challenging the government in that respect, whether economically or otherwise. But I mean, Boris, I think the thing that we miss out is Boris has a very colorful life, and everybody knows that. And I dare say that not many people in the nation want him to go. It is a very, very interesting dynamics. You can see all the people who have access to the press telling him to go. But believe me, those people that are going to vote, do they want Boris out? As mayor, he was the one dangling over this whole thing. But for me personally, and in terms of, I think, morality and the rest of it, I didn't think it was right for him not only to have your girlfriend in number 10 and having a child out of wedlock in number 10. It was sending so much of a wrong signal. I mean, he could have had his girlfriend, he could have waited for his wedding, and it could do anything outside of that place. Believe me, I'm not judging him. I'm not judging because I'm a Christian or whatever. But I believe from as a leader, there were some things that were just not right, and it sends the kind of message that we don't want all the young ones to start thinking that you can just do whatever you like and get away with it. It was, for me personally, I think, I could live with her visiting, but not be a resident as the girlfriend, and then got pregnant there, and then had a baby there. And it took them a while for them to actually now go back to, I think it was getting embarrassing for him as the world leaders were meeting somewhere in England, and they had to quickly just pop in and do the marriage. So
Yes.
for me, that to me, I would have to,
Well,
say it's not something that I think for a leader, there are better ways to have done that.
Well, there's something that I put up on the screen, and Gary and I have been talking about leaders, that the nation need good leadership, and they talk about the 7 principles of public life, which I put up there. And number 1, holders of public office should act solely in the terms of the public interest. Do we believe the Prime Minister has been acting in terms of the public interest? Gary, do you think the Prime Minister has been acting solely in terms of the public interest?
I don't think so.
Okay, let me go straight to Adam. I'm just going through these points here.
I remember once being told by somebody quite high up in the Labour Party, not in terms of public office, but in terms of the machine of the party, that you should never take the moral high ground. And I've come to understand fully what that means, and I don't want to judge Boris that he is in some way not doing something in a certain way, because then I'm always saying, well, as a Labour Party member, that my MPs, the MPs that I support, the leader of the opposition, that they're in some way very different, and I think it's unfair to take that high ground. It's politics. Those values there, as much as we look towards them as guiding figures, I think it's quite clear that there's a lot of work to do to get our MPs to work to that standard. In fact, not only MPs, but people who work in public sector, in the public sector, in middle management, senior management positions. It's something that we aspire to, but it's something clearly that we're not living up to.
So therefore, it seems, David, that at least this is something that leaders should be working towards. Prime Minister should be working towards. Adam is saying it right, because who has sinned cast the first stone. Because if I was Boris and I was caught in a situation, I'll be writing some things down like Jesus, as they're having a go at him to say he without sin first cast the first stone. you know, because holders of integrity, holders of public office must avoid placing themselves under any obligation to people, organizations that might try inappropriately to influence them in their work. Um, Objectivity, holders of public office must act and take decisions impartially. Now, I'm putting Boris on the spot, but David, these points which I'm just flagging up here in regard to leadership, what's your take on that?
Which one of them?
Well, which one of them? Let's go with integrity.
Integrity. Wow, that's a big one actually for Boris. But I mean, to a large extent, I when I look at the whole thing, I look at all of them really, and they're much different. It's probably just because they've not been caught. It's only when when you look at the crisis we had with the pay thing and what the MPs were all doing then. It was until the whole thing started coming out. I would say, okay, so you do it, so you do it, so you do it too. But when they're actually standing in front there, it's like, no, I'm clean. I have never put my hand in this kind of thing, but it's never, ever, ever the same. And I think to a large extent, Boris has a gift. He's not very good in many things, but he has a gift of being able to actually get the right person that can do a job. And that to me is leadership, because you don't have to be good at everything. But to a large extent, if he can really focus, which is a very difficult one for him, if he can focus, I believe he can get some things done more than most of his colleagues in the Conservative Party, more than most of them. So yeah, he does lack quite a bit in that sense, where it's like I said, his life is very colorful in a way, without having to say anything or bring a condemnation in any way. We're all different. But when it comes in terms of leadership, I think where he is now, I'm not sure even with the residents of number 10 that is able to fully focus and actually get the stuff done. Because as like I said, as a family man, I mean, he's going to be close to his 60s, and he's having all this 1-year-old, 2-year-old, and would anyone think that lady will not harass him once in a while? No. I mean, she was involved in all the parties.
Yeah. Well, maybe, there's a school of thought. Maybe people saying that he's not a modern man, and that's how society is now. It's like that's how society is now. Everybody's free, happy-go-lucky, cool. The number 10 is now free and moving away from the old tradition.
I agree, Silborn. I would say that.
I'm not saying that. I'm just sure that I didn't say that with my.
I think there's an element of. I think, unfortunately, society has become so chaotic in the way we live our personal lives. Chaos is ruling. That when you look at Boris, you think, well, my life might be in a mess, but there's nothing compared to Boris's. So you almost feel a sense of well, if anybody's going to understand, it's Boris, because his life is, he's not trying to put up the perfect life, is he? He's not saying, I've got a wife and 3 kids, and I've never looked at another woman before and all that. He's not playing holier than thou. In fact, it's all out there. It's very much
been real. He's been real.
Yeah, and people. He comes out with things which he probably shouldn't come out with, but people get a sense of what he thinks, and so that is a magnetism for many voters. Unfortunately, his lack of attention to detail, his lack of command of those around him has been found wanting on more than one occasion, and that's going to be his undoing. I think the difficulty for him, for Boris, is that if he were the president of America, he'd be president of the UK if we had one. If we had a president, it'd be different. You wouldn't be having to deal with the day-to-day things. how the staff are run and this and that. You won't be accountable for those things. But as a prime minister, and as a prime minister, there are so many demands on you that he's getting found out in that position. He's very much a somebody who looks at things in a very general approach.
Yeah.
He doesn't have command of his brief as such, as well as he should do.
Well, I'm gonna put before we go now. I'm just gonna do this last bit now, and this is it now. The general consensus is that Boris is a dead man walking, figuratively. So let the social media record that I said figuratively speaking. You know, with all these fact checkers. Now, if he doesn't go, right, and because it's going to be difficult without these 54, and even if there's a 54, there's still that confidence of vote which has to go through. And if he wins, what would you say then that Boris need to do and to focus on? Because I believe that leadership and being a prime minister or a president is not a beauty contest. It's not about people loving you or liking you. It's about deliverables. And one can say Boris has delivered when it comes on to Brexit. Boris has delivered when it comes on to this pandemic. The
Yeah.
guy didn't expect this. He wasn't
Mm.
expecting this. Nobody was expecting this. There was not a blueprint, Adam or Gary. There was no blueprint, and he had to go in there and do it. He never even had time to have that honeymoon period. So I'm going to put it out to you now. Those on Facebook, Instagram, what do you think Boris need to do for the rest of his tenure, at least for this term, to come on or to get back on track for the nation? I'll put it to you, David, first.
I
Boris
mean,
is listening. Rishi Sunak, they always listen to this show,
he was just on money market now and talking about the bonus is giving us, and then we have to pay it back in 5 years' time. Yep, that's what I wanted to get. I was not sure, was this free £200 and for your council tax, or £150 for, it was actually like a loan
It's
to
a loan.
every household, and you can't refuse it.
It's a loan.
It's a loan
Oh,
payable over 5 years. So you're going to pay £40 every year for 5 years. So, I mean, let's leave that for now. And you can't opt out. He said it's going to be, a serious administrative problem for them to handle that. So for me, if Boris can get on to immigration, which is getting out
yes.
of hand, especially from France, and just tell Macron where to jump off. If he can do that, if he can do the Northern Ireland Protocol and just, trigger that Article 16 and just let's get on with it. If he can do that, I believe it's something that is very significant to the people, and find a way out of and delaying that NI increase that is trying to do for the NHS. I think we've done it. We've done more than enough for the NHS. It's becoming, the NHS become an idol. It's become an idol that everybody has to just bow down. It says, save the NHS. What about saving the people that are dying? So
Yes.
I don't like that save the NHS thing. They are meant to save lives. So we
Okay.
need to just reverse that. But if you can't do that immigration, you can't, sort out the Northern Protocol, Northern Ireland Protocol, and, really slow down on that NI increase. I think it might get some browning points.
Okay. Gary, Reverend Graham, what do you say if Boris was to remain as it is looking, and if what would you say are the key things that he need to do in order to command and to get back on track, at least for his period of time?
What can he
Shaking
do?
it.
What can he do? I mean, what can Boris physically do, mentally? What can he say to bring the people back? I mean, I think that it's irretrievable. I think things have gone too far. I mean, during the pandemic, look at it like this, and David did raise a point there. During the height of the pandemic, sadly, many lost their lives. That's fine. I understand that. There is something out there that's
Yes.
obviously touched lives. I've always said that. Was it Wednesday or Thursday? He asked the whole country. I didn't. I'm sorry but he asked the whole country to stand outside and to clap. I mean, let's say the whole country went out there to do, communities went out there believing that the government was going to do something for the NHS,
Yeah.
for the nurses, for the doctors, the consultants. You know, many of them lost even their own lives looking after the people that they were trying to save. What has he done now? What has he done to pacify the doctors, the nurses, the care? What has he done?
Sack them.
He has to.
That's what they're planning to do. Sack them, isn't it?
He has to
No
go.
job. Yeah.
He has to go. I don't think there's anything that Boris Johnson could do or say. He would have to turn a god in order to come out and say something to bring the country back to him and to have the reins firmly in his hand and for him to have the numbers or the majority that he had when he won. Because I don't think there's anything that he could say or do to save him. I don't think so.
Well, I'm gonna put the last to wrap up with Adam. And Adam, just to let you know that I did give some free advice to Sir Keir Starmer. I said to him, we need to focus on certain things and stop talk about Cake Gate and Party Gate. He did this week, and I didn't take any credit. So I mean, you know, what do you say about Boris?
Bit of pro bono work from you there, Silborn. I think there are currently more than 54 MPs who want Boris out.
Yeah.
There are. I mean, you only have to look at the likes of Steve Baker, who's on the news every other day, slating Boris. Most of the 1922 committee want him out. Charles Walker was on Channel 4 saying that, you know, as much as he liked Boris, he thinks it's time for him to move on. Theresa May, Jeremy Hunt. There is a lot of them who haven't put their letters in yet, or have got the letters written and aren't disclosing, and have submitted it and haven't disclosed it. They put it in.
Is it a physical letter or email? I don't know. I need to ask Graham Brady. He watches this program. Program sometimes, you know.
It's about timing, Silborn, because the 1922 committee. The current rules are you can only have one attempt at getting the letters in and removing the leader. They looked at changing it to two times, to having
within a term.
Within the term, but they refuse to do that. So it's just one. They've got one chance to get rid of him. So they're making sure that when they do it, they've got all the numbers they need to remove him. That's why it hasn't happened yet. What Boris has in his favour is he understands the political system very well.
Yeah.
So he's the other day he was talking to the Conservative parliamentary group, trying to win them over. He's talking to MPs all the time, trying to make sure they don't move over to the side that they're trying to get rid of him. So he understands the mechanics of how the parliamentary system works very well. But it is a question, I think, of when you've heard the term Operation Red Meat and Operation Save Big Dog. So Operation Save Big Dog. It's all around these policies that he thinks will be really juicy for parliamentary MPs in the Conservative Party and for Tory members, which he's trying to say. I mean, I wouldn't agree with them, because I think they are simply that. They are something which is just aimed at garnering support rather than what's good for the country. What we need from a prime minister is somebody who's going to get education right, and focus on that as a key issue for the next election. Because what we've got now in the UK is we've got pressure on schools having to join other schools, also like becoming multi-academy trusts, and it's what it's doing. It's damaging the accountability. It's damaging the fabric of schools and the governance system that they have within schools. I can hear the music, so I'll leave it there. But that's my education.
Education. That sounds like something which was used at some previous election before.
Tony Blair used it.
Education. Well, guys, listen, ladies and gentlemen, very good conversation, I must say. And and I think we need more of this. But I'm going to actually delve more into the 7 Nolan principles of public life, which are very key, as much as possible. And I think the key thing is, amidst the whole party gate, amidst the whole cake gate, is not to lose the focus on the UK and the bigger picture. That's my thinking. 'Cause when I watch parliamentary debate and question time, you can't help sometimes by saying these guys are wasting time. There's so many issues,
Yeah.
to be dealt with, and no man is perfect, and no man is an island. He without sin cast the first stone. I leave it at that. Guys, thank you very much for coming on. Adam, Mohammed, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, Silborn.
Sir Gary Graham, thank you so much. David, thank you so much. And ladies and gentlemen, for those who are online and on Instagram, Facebook, thank you so much for coming. Thank you very much. See you next week, same time. Thank you. Bye bye.